What's up, everybody? Drake Maye has officially been announced as the quarterback for the UNC Tar Heels, and we're going to go through all of not only UNC, but all of the ACC schools, their quarterback situation, and how can we just make sure all the ducks are in a row as we get ready for week 0. Let's do it.
You are Locked On ACC, your daily podcast on the Atlantic Coast Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome to today's edition of Locked On ACC. I'm your host, Candace Cooper, joined by Kenton Gibbs of Locked On Wolfpack. We appreciate you guys for checking us out here each and every day, making us your first listen. We are available wherever you get podcasts. And of course, being local experts, we are your team every single day. Kenton, I hope you had a great weekend. How we feeling?
Oh, I feel absolutely great. But in the words of Shannon Sharp, since it's Hard Knock season, all the fans are talking about how mean you are to me, and I feel like he felt with Tony Saragu. You embarrassed me on the national podcast. I need my restitution. I need my restitution for you being rude to me the last couple podcasts. But proceed. We're gonna go.
If you feel like today is going to be any different, I just have something for you. But anyway.
Well. More restitution shall be paid then.
Breaking news we have out of Chapel Hill. Drake Maye has been named the starting quarterback for the UNC Tar Heels. He will be in the first spot, QB1, followed by Jacolby Criswell, who has been the backup since Sam Howell days. And of course, he probably assumed the role when Sam decided to take his talents to the league. It would be right there for him, but Drake Maye has stepped in. And of course, Phil Longo Mack Brown said both would be great, but we're going with Drake. Initial reactions to Drake Maye being QB1. Let's start there.
I don't really have too much of a reaction. I think that both quarterbacks are good, but they bring different things, and I caution against giving very big and bold predictions over folks that we just honestly haven't seen a ton of. Like we haven't seen a ton of either one of these guys. And how many times in college have we seen a quarterback battle start off with one guy starting the season being the number one guy, and then when live bullets get to flying, things kind of do a little spinaroo, switcheroo. So, who knows how this thing will go for Drake Maye. It is good to have clarity going into game 1, but we'll see how this thing rolls out.
And of course, with it being just a couple days before their big week 0 season opener against FAMU, it was high time that Mack Brown made a selection. So for those of you who don't know Drake Maye, if you know the Maye name, it's very familiar. His father played out of Carolina, and you also have Luke Maye, the national champion, who hit that shot against Kentucky. All the things, all the memories, all the vibes. Sitting at 6'4", the freshman will be about 220 pounds, of course, give or take one little Chick-fil-A sandwich or the other, and he is ready to go at the helm, and he'll have, of course, that Howell tutelage before him, who set all the records and pretty much became the face, arguably one of the best quarterbacks, if not the best quarterback coming out of UNC. He'll have some big shoes to fill, but he has some great starters, right? He has Josh Downs. He has Antoine Green when he comes back, nice and healthy. He has, some great guys to help him, from the receiver standpoint. British Brooks, of course, being down will be a little struggle for their running back game, but Amari Hampton is certainly going to be able to fill those gaps, as a freshman himself. And I think UNC will be in a fine place. But you mentioned not having film on Drake Maye, having the same kind of reaction towards a Tyler Van Dyke that we did last season, where he kind of came in after D'Eriq King proved himself to not really be as healthy as we thought. It could be surprising to people, right? We could have one of those things where we're like, oh, damn, he really might be the ish. But of course, they had to keep it going throughout camp, give us a little, media, let's talk about some things. But it may have been a clear favorite from the get, but you don't want to break down Jacoby's, hopes and dreams and all the things. So do you think that Maye could have similarities to Tyler Van Dyke?
I mean, the reality is Tyler Van Dyke had a very good season. And by the way, as much as Miami fans say they hate me, remember when I said once Miami gets down enough against Alabama, he probably shouldn't play anymore. D'Eriq probably should. Anyway, that's another story for another time. With that being said, I think that the reality here is to expect. I don't think Tyler Van Dyke had a world-beating year. He had a very good year. It was a world-beating year considering the situation. Is it possible that Maye has that same type of season? Possibly. Yeah, it could happen. It's not unheard of to see a first year quarterback come in and do some really good things. And I have not seen this young man play to say I don't know what when Virginia Tech had Braxton Burmeister starting. I said, wait a minute, I watched that boy play at Oregon. He can't hit the side of a Walmart from the parking lot. He can't play ball. This is just not your guy if you're serious about winning games. I don't know good, bad, or indifferent about Drake Maye, what it is. You know what I mean? So I am interested in seeing how this plays out for him. But again, is it possible that he has a Tyler Van Dyke season? Absolutely. Is it possible that he has a season that sees him getting pulled 2 to 3 games in? Also, absolutely.
Yeah, we'll know that Jacolby Criswell will certainly be ready to go. He was committed to Alabama and then flipped. And that's kind of similar to Sam Howell in terms of being committed to Florida State and then ultimately going to North Carolina the same. So I think that having, an opportunity to play at Alabama certainly says enough. He was a 4-star recruit for those who love the stars and all the things. He went to Myers Park High School out of Charlotte, North Carolina. So I feel like he is one of the nation's best prospects. Now, can he put pen to paper and make sure the stars are aligned in his favor when it comes to all said and done? It remains to be seen. But either way it goes, I think North Carolina putting themselves in a position to be successful. Of course, you're going to get really good film on FAMU. If you struggle against FAMU, I think it'll tell us a lot about what we need to know about this season and how we should and when I say we, I mean Tar Heels, all the things, should set expectations for how it's going to go. Again, I think it's going to be a decent game going out. And of course, North Carolina's going to figure it out, but it could be a punch in the mouth. Who knows? We've seen teams out here, Florida State, Jacksonville State, I'm looking at you. We've seen teams come out here and, wet the bed against teams they absolutely should beat. So
to be completely honest, I've wished for a lot of things in life, and success on the Tar Heel ain't never been one of them. So, I
go Rattlers. Is that what you're trying to say?
Hey, listen, go Rattlers, baby. Go Rattlers. Let's see what we got game one. I know it's a snake. I don't know what they do. Is it Rattlers bite or whatever? Go with that. Go do that, Rattlers. You know what I mean? Yeah. So, yeah. But anywho, again, this is. I think that it is a very interesting situation that a quarterback was named this late, but also, like you said, it could just be, hey, we knew he was going to be the guy all along, but we just kind of drug it out so that, everybody wasn't preparing their defenses for Criswell as opposed to Maye for whatever their differences may be.
Well, I think what sucks about for Criswell is that he didn't have opportunity to put his name in the transfer portal. He didn't have an opportunity to really get through camp and say, hey, it's really not going to be my time, and try and go somewhere else and make it shake. Like, this is another year where you're kind of sitting behind, someone else. And maybe he does have to have that come Jesus. Jace Rude did that when he was at Carolina, when Sam was named the starter, and kind of moved from there. I remember when Mack Brown first broke that story. So there was a lot of talk about there being a 1-2 punch, but it was really Sam all along. So hopefully Criswell can, of course, be there ready to go as a strong backup. And maybe if things don't shake for Dre, he gets an opportunity to get in. He could have a DJ Uiagalelei year where it just is not shaking how it should. And there is somebody right behind ready to take your opportunity. So there's a lot to talk about there. But as I mentioned, DJ, I do want to talk about some of the starters that we know, and then some people that have quarterbacks, but we're not too impressed so far right now. Things could change. And then, of course, still people that we're trying to hear from in terms of their quarterback position. So we'll get into all of that here as we rock through the rest of the show. But first, I want to remind our friends who love to get into a little betting action that BetOnline.net is the fastest and easiest way to check on all of your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the #1 online source for odds, lines, and games. BetOnline is the continued top online resource for all of your sports wagering info. That includes live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. Head to the BetOnline website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the actions happening today. BetOnline is where the game starts. Now, if you told me that the money should be on Drake Maye to be the starter for North Carolina, I would have definitely taken that bet, because I didn't feel like I didn't feel like Jacolby Criswell was certainly going to be the starter after conversations and the way Drake's name kept popping up. But there are people that I absolutely am going to keep my money on throughout this season. And we can start with NC State. Heisman hopeful Devin Leary. He is one of the starters that we know is ready to have a good season, and the year is pretty much, it's his oyster to be a really good quarterback and take this team to the next level. Would you argue that he's the best quarterback in this conference?
Yes, and it's not close. It's not particularly close. If he repeats what he does next year, I don't think that any quarterback in the conference can exceed that. And not just in terms of, well, if we're talking in terms of statistics, Brennan Armstrong can exceed it because he did last year, I believe. I believe Brennan Armstrong had more passing yards and all that. But Brennan Armstrong was they first, they last, they everything. So, I mean, that's a little different. But the reality is in terms of impact on his team, in terms of what they are doing and how they're, shaping the game, the reality is if I'm looking at what this team is bringing, he doesn't have to go out there and hit a next level. He's already there. He's already at that. He was at that level last year. Can you be that guy again? I'm going to tell you, if he does go to a next level, if he does have another level to gain, ladies and gentlemen, listeners of this show, go ahead and book it right now. Unless somebody goes off and breaks every record by a mile, he's going to win the Heisman. If he has another level and reaches that, I have no doubt in my mind about that.
He's going to win a Heisman as opposed to Alabama's boy?
Yeah. If we're talking about, when you look at what he did last year.
What's his name? Because I don't want to call him boy. What's his name?
CJ Bryce.
Okay.
CJ Bryce.
No, it's not.
Oh, no. It's CJ Stroud. And what's Bryce's name? What's his name? How do I just combine two people into one? Let Bryce Young. It's Bryce Young.
Lord.
Yeah. So
Apologies,
the reality is when you look at what Devin Leary did last year, it's no way that you can say with a straight face, oh, he has another level to get, and that another level doesn't win a Heisman. What he did last year was accomplishing a 7-to-1 touchdown to interception ratio. Like, that is crazy. That is absolutely nuts. What he did last year was over 3,500 yards in an offense that is not super pass happy or super upbeat. Like, let's be honest, that variation of, like, for example, when we talk about Sam Hartman's numbers at Wake Forest, they ran the most plays in the nation last year. They were a very quick up-tempo offense. So that is part of what contributes to statistics being what they are. So when you look at him and you say he's running in an offense that doesn't really do the whole, we're going to trick him with, or we're going to wear him down with, they just say, we're going to go out there, we're going to get in the huddle, we're going to call our plays, we're going to trust you to make the right decision and get it where it needs to be. If he has another level from 7-to-1, if he has another level from 3,500 yards, that next level has to be seeing him in New York at the absolute least, at average, I'd see that winning a Heisman if he has another level. But if he stays where he is, this could still be a great year for NC State.
Sure. We move on to Clemson and DJ Uiagalelei, who we mentioned here a little bit earlier, being the lead. And of course, we talk about someone who is outright team moves, lives, and breathes with Devin Leary. But DJ, I feel like the team could still be great if he is just a minimum, at best, a game manager. Like, the team will be straight. The defense will be great. And he has a couple playmakers that could do just enough to not make him be the focal point of the flaws for the team.
I'm going to tell you this. Remember when Trevor Lawrence got Kelly Bryant's spot up off him?
Caden must be amazing because the way y'all be talking about him.
I'm not. No. This is not, and this is where I wanted to get at. It's not that. It's the exact opposite. I don't think DJ is the quarterback Kelly Bryant is. I don't.
Damn.
I don't think that he. But here's the thing. People tend to forget how good Kelly Bryant was. When Trevor Lawrence took his spot, there were a lot of people that were like, what did Kelly Bryant do? What happened? Because Kelly Bryant didn't have bad games. And it was like, well, you got to bring in Trevor. You got to. DJ has. He's had some games where you're just like, young man, who are you? Who are you and what have you done with this number one quarterback from a couple classes ago or from last class? What's happening? So the reality is I think that to me personally, he's the quarterback with the most to prove in the ACC. He's the quarterback with the most to prove, and everybody's talking about this Dabo revenge tour and all that. Well, I'm going to tell you, more than the Dabo revenge tour, this needs to be a big Cinco. He need to be playing Summer 16 all day because he need to be looking for revenge. He need to be going out to prove that he is everything that they said he was plus some because last year I didn't see it. And yes, at times his receivers did fail him. Yes, there was some shuffling due to injuries on the offensive line. Yes, they did not have a great running game, but that was the case for a lot of quarterbacks. You tell me, who's Brennan Armstrong's leading back?
Okay, yeah.
You see what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of quarterbacks in the league. You tell me, who's Malik Cunningham's lead back?
Well, didn't he transfer? No.
But that's what I'm saying. The guys who we look at around the conference and we say
Malik Cunningham is Malik Cunningham's running back. Let's keep it a band.
But that's my point. When we look around at the other guys in the conference, we're not saying, well, they have their cast is star-studded. They just got baller on baller on ball. These quarterbacks are having to figure it out. Big Cinco.
So basically, you're saying that Big Cinco needs to figure it out this season. Got it.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. That is that. Oh, yes, ma'am. I apologize. Yes, ma'am. He got to figure it out. He got to figure that thing out.
And then we're speaking of Louisville. Malik Cunningham certainly is in the conversation. You've been very high on him, arguably right under a Devin Leary. He might be 1A, 1B in terms of just being a very dynamic quarterback. I think for Louisville, this is a very much a show us what you got season. I think that they have all the stars to be decent enough, but there's, of course, a lot of top heavy hitters over in the Atlantic.
I'd argue this. When we're talking about the Atlantic and you're talking about whose team depends on who the most, it's probably a close battle between Leary, Hartman, and Cunningham, because Cunningham, he's another one that, I mean, like you said, he's not just, when you look at his rushing touchdown total, it tells you that they could run the ball with him close to the goal line. But when you actually watch the game, you see, oh, they run the ball with him everywhere. He is, he is the axe to be a guy who's going to be partially a workhorse in their running game as well. And so this is a situation where I look and I say, he's a guy that I've seen make the reads, go from 1 to 2 to 3, make the throw. I've seen him when he's comfortable in the pocket, figuring it out, processing the defense, making extremely intelligent ball plays. But with that being said, the question for Malik is a lot like the question for Brennan Armstrong. What is your team going to do around you? How good are they going to be to help you out? Because that is, quarterback is the most important position in football, but it's also the most dependent. That's the only position. If the center snapped the ball wrong, if the receiver dropped the ball, if the tight end run the wrong route, if the receiver lines up and covers the tight end, now you got a legal man downfield, all that type of stuff. You've got the smallest details that need to go right from everybody else for a quarterback to do their job well. A great defensive tackle, they're going to be great regardless of who fitting wrong and who doing whatever. You're going to see on film that they're still great anyway. So this is, again, Malik Cunningham is very impactful to his team, and I think he has another level to hit. I think he's a guy that he has another level to hit that's right there for him. But again, I think that's all about what is his team going to do for him in this year.
It's crazy that he has another level to hit, and many are saying he is the second coming of Lamar Jackson. But people hate on him too for obvious reasons.
Exactly.
Or maybe not obvious for those.
I mean, he led the NFL in passing touchdowns, and people still call him a running back. Like, at the end of the day, if people call you the second coming of Lamar Jackson, that's great. But I would argue this. I would argue that Malik Cunningham has a level to hit to where he becomes, instead of the second coming of Lamar, he's the first Malik. I think that he has
I'm pretty sure that's how he feels. But also, nobody's arguing with you, so you don't have to keep saying I would argue.
Oh no, I'm not.
We're in agreement.
When I say I would argue,
we're in agreement.
See, and this is why the fans say you're rude to me. This right here. This is why the fans say you talking me crazy.
All right, Phil Dracovic jumping into starting quarterbacks that we know are going to have decent seasons. Of course, he has Zay Flowers. We're feeling confident about Boston College. What will that O-line look like remains to be seen. It's going to be critical for them to have a strong O-line in order for Zay to get the plays off that he wants, in order for Phil to stay healthy and get through a whole season, which is what they're going to be essential for when it comes to these Boston College Eagles trying to make their case throughout the Atlantic.
I think Garwo and company are the key to that one. Zay Flowers is a baller. They've got some weapons on the outside, but the reality is, what are they going to be in terms of taking pressure off of Phil Jacolby? Because I think that I've seen him, and he shows flashes of just some nasty, nasty stuff on film. He makes plays to where you watch him on tape and you say, the arm talent is there. He can make crazy throws out of ridiculous angles on the run, all that type of stuff. The arm talent is there. The freakish ability is there. But the question becomes, is feel the type of guy that can carry a team. And it's not a knock if you cannot be the guy to carry a team, because some guys, the team has to give them some support and some help, and that's okay.
Well, you would say that he does carry the team because the team literally died when he did it, wasn't there? So,
well, I would say that they had a very rough season, and that people like the quarterbacks that came in behind him were not serviceable. Like those quarterbacks last year for Boston College.
I mean, Boston College almost beat Clemson. Like, let's not.
And if we watch that game, how did they do it? It was the defense and Garwo.
A couple fumbles, it's hard. It's hard.
It was the defense and Garwo. That quarterback, I said that Burmeister couldn't hit the side of a Super Bowl.
You know what? Cut it.
Listen,
Cut it. We got 2 more at school, so come on.
They couldn't hit an Amazon fulfillment center from the truck. So them boys at Boston College, those backups were just god awful. And so the question is, how much of an improvement will it be to have Phil back? I think it'll be an immense jump forward from what they had last year because of his injury, but also you're counting on him coming back and being super comfortable with live bullets flying right away, which we know isn't always the case.
All right, these 2 more quarterbacks we want to talk about here who are surefire things that we're not really worried about: Miami and Virginia. So Tyler Van Dyke, of course, being in his kind of first way to go in terms of his season and his career starting. You got Brendan Armstrong, who's towards the tail end, with Tony Elliott in the new year, but someone he feels very confident in. You also have Mario Cristobal, who's in his first year. So I think this is a good case study for quarterback analysis or new coach arrivals, all the things. They're in a prime position to kind of see how it's going to go for Miami and maybe what Virginia might need in order to keep their season successful, or how they're going to have to pivot with this new coaching staff. There it is.
Well, both of these guys are ballers. Both of these guys are ballers. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. I would say that Brendan Armstrong is a tier above Tyler Van Dyke, but Brendan Armstrong is a bad boy. He can do it all. I remember when he came onto the scene, it was like you just saw him running the ball so much, and he was running out of power formations. He was doing all these things to which you were like, this man is like the second coming to Tim Tebow or something, because he just that was his deal. And then over time, bit by bit, his arm just got better and better and better. And now last year, you see him flinging the ball all over the yard and doing great things without some of his top weapons. And you're like, okay, I see you, Brendan. This is what I like to see. And of course, you're looking at, well, how will he be affected by Bronco Mendenhall leaving? And how will Elliott, as a first-time head coach, is one thing to be the assistant guy, the offensive coordinator. It's one thing to do that. It's a different thing altogether when you are asked to be the everything of the program, the person who's responsible for institutional control. So I'm interested in seeing how that works itself out in terms of what Elliott can draw up for him. And then when you talk about Tyler Van Dyke, I mean, this is a guy that he showed the flashes at multiple points in time last season. He showed flashes against NC State. He showed flashes of
whoop the wheels off, y'all.
They won by 3 points because Devin Carter dropped the ball. Okay, let's knock it off now. Let's knock it, or 1 point actually. Was it 31? Whatever it was, they won by less than 4 points. But anyway, the reality is he showed good things last year. Cristobal got everybody excited about this Miami team. TVD for sure has another level to hit. He has a level to hit to where he consistently plays his best and highest level of ball. And if he does that, if TVD does that, I am booking it. I guarantee it. That team is going to be in the conference championship.
No doubt about it. So now that we are talking about, quarterbacks you don't have to worry about, it's crazy that I have to even put Wake Forest in the tier of quarterbacks where like they're here, but are they available? And once they're available, are they going to give us something? Are they going to make some things shake? So this is the next tier that we're going to talk about here as we're wrapping up the show. But Wake Forest, of course, Sam Hartman, we don't know for sure when he's returning. We hope that it'll only be a couple weeks, but therein lies Wake Forest is going to have to figure it out, because without him, we know that team is, not the same. Still good, still decent enough, make minimal mistakes regardless, but they are not the same team without him. And I think that Mitch Griffiths, I think it's Griffiths or Griffith, who is going to be stepping in on behalf of Sam, is going to have be a big time playmaker, which no pressure, right? You're over here thinking that Sam's the guy, and now you're going to have to step up. But hopefully you can use that intensity and you can use that wanting to step up for your brother in a way that's positive and effective for the team.
You can't go 1-for-1 with him.
Yeah.
You can't go 1-for-1 with replacing Hartman. You got to tell Mitch, hey, listen, don't turn the ball over. Put us in good positions to the best
game
of your
managers.
ability.
This is the game management section.
That's it. Manage the game, baby. That's all I need.
Don't mess it up. Don't do too much. Just do your job.
And it's unfortunate because I don't think that Wake Forest has the defense to be able to say that, to be able to say, hey, if you just manage this thing and don't lose it, we'll be all right. No, ma'am. No, ma'am. With what we saw last year, their quarterback going to have to win some ball games. So we hope that whatever is going on with Sam Hartman gets resolved quickly and that everybody's in good health and good spirits and he gets back on the field quickly. But with that being said, I mean, the reality is what the reality is, and he's not available right now. So this is a concerning quarterback situation for a team that looked like a contender in the conference.
Yeah, 100%. And as we talk about our more game managers, we move on to Jeff Sims out of Georgia Tech, who, not for nothing, of course, he's having a pretty decent, start at Georgia Tech. The coaching staff might not be his best set, but he has the stuff. Like we can't deny that Jeff Sims is a quality quarterback. It's either like amazing or it's poo-poo. Like that's his range, honestly, in my opinion.
Poor Jeff Sims. I feel so bad for the man. One of the best running backs in the nation, transfers out of your school. You have a situation where your coach, his seat is hotter than fish grease in the middle of the cookout. Like this, it's just so it's just so tough for him. And playing in Georgia, while Georgia happens to have one of the best periods that we've seen from them, right? Like this isn't Mark Richt's Georgia, no offense to Mark Richt, but this is not a Georgia team that we're talking about is struggling to win the big game. So naturally, you're already at a deficit in terms of in-state recruiting, and then you get that on top of it, and now I'm rooting for Jeff Sims. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm rooting for him. But it always seems to be something in the way there. And so, I'm intrigued to see how this season plays out for him, but I'm worried. Alexa, play Weary by Solange, please. Because I'm wary of what's going to happen to him this year.
Yeah, 1,000%. We move on to Florida State, who has Jordan Travis, of course, who also is a very good quarterback. Nobody's ever taken that away from him, but he is going to have a very much a breakout season for us to feel like Florida State is back into these top conversations when it comes to just the Atlantic or even in the conference. So we're looking for him to not only be great with his legs, but also much better with his arms.
We're looking at a situation. You take me from one poor me situation to another one. I mean, for Christ, hey, it doesn't get much rougher than what we've seen out of Florida State recently in terms of losing to Jacksonville State, and through 21 games, their current head coach has a worse record than Willie Taggart. Like that's the reality of what Jordan Travis is in right now. And I'm going to tell you this, it's going to take a Herculean effort to get them out of this. And so, I'm sure the Florida State fans are hoping that the Muses are singing in dope because they're going to need him to show up. For those of you who don't understand the reference, go watch Hercules on Disney+. But anyway, for the reality is that Jordan Travis is going to have to take there are certain quarterbacks that if they take the next step, it'd be great. But if they were what they were last year, you can live with that. Jordan Travis is going to have to. He's going to have to level up in order for this team to be what folks are suspecting or what folks believe they're going to be in Tallahassee at least.
1,000%. And then the final one, who is extreme game manager, like hate it for you, Garrett Schrader out of Syracuse. My guy, we just need you to just do enough, just enough.
Is he managing the game? Is it really? Is it really?
I tried.
His job is to professionally hand that ball off to Tucker and get out the way. That's his job. His job is to, here you go, Tuck. Go ahead. Go get him, boy. Go get him. My man. No, but seriously, we joke a lot about Dino Babers being on the hottest of hot seats. And I mean, his seat is burn your finger to the touch type hot. And with that being said, Garrett Schrader is a big part of that. Let's just be honest, right? Like their defenses produce a lot more turnovers than you would expect from Syracuse, but they always do. Their defenses always find a way to generate turnovers. Offensively, they have to find a quarterback that can get the job done. Last time they had
in his defense, they have had a new offensive system every year he's been there.
Absolutely.
In his defense.
Absolutely. But last time they had a good quarterback, that's when they won. What was it? 8 or 10 games or whatever?
10 games.
That's what it was. Quarterbacks, the call is on you. Pick up the phone, Garrett. You got to answer the call, baby. If not, don't worry about it. You're going to go ahead and get a new offensive coordinator and a new head coach and a new defensive coordinator. Everybody going to be new the year after that.
Yes. And as we talk about UNC, we talked about Drake Maye being the starting quarterback. New quarterbacks being named for out of Virginia Tech, Grant Wells, who, of course, 6'2", ready to do his thing, 208 pounds. He has been having an exceptional camp. He was in competition with Jason Brown over there in Blacksburg. And, of course, Coach Pry is ready to go with his on-field decision in terms of picking him. So that's pretty much the breaking news there. Guys that we're still waiting, though, conversations. Duke football between Jordan Moore and Riley Leonard. It still remains to be seen, and we have not heard that announcement yet as we're recording the show. Also for Pitt between Nick Patty and Keaton Slovis, which is really weird that they're still having this to the upteenth hour, who's going to be the starting quarterback over there, because why do you bring Slovis here if you're not going to make him the starter? But I get giving Nick a shot. He tried his thing. We don't say he did his thing. He tried his thing at Michigan State bowl game. But, ultimately, I think it's going to be Keaton when it's all said. That's similar to how Drake kind of got the spot when we knew, but we couldn't announce.
I hope and I pray that Narduzzi is playing and being a media wizard and getting everybody all riled up. Because if not, Alexa, play deads, because them boys from Pitt are in trouble. Them boys are in trouble. The rest of these quarterbacks, I mean, I say the same thing about them that I do about May. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, you don't know what you don't know, right?
Yeah.
And with that, there is the promise of this. There's always one or two guys every year that break out that nobody saw coming, except the local reporters, which, somebody called Devin Leary being great last year. But anyway, there's always one or two who are going to be the guys this year. Could we see some out of this group? I think so. I think it's possible. At Virginia Tech, quarterback play was their hamstring last couple of seasons, really. That was what kept them a little hamstrung. And so moving forward, if you're looking at new coach, new system, you have a quarterback, you have new quarterbacks coming in. And again, you cannot get worse than what we saw out of Braxton Burmeister last year. So what you have to get better from
He wasn't terrible. Come on now. Okay. All right. We don't have time. We don't have time to have the bird.
With that being said, you know what I mean? There's y'all, it's hard to go worse than that. So we'll see what Virginia Tech has and what these quarterbacks have.
No doubt about it. Guys, make sure you come back next week as we talk more with Kenton Gibbs. We are going to be week 1 fully ready for some conversations. We're going to recap week 0. So you got Florida State playing Duquesne, and you also have Carolina playing FAMU. Some great recap episodes on the way there. But the season is here. Like, there is not going to be no football from now until the new year. So that's exciting for us. It's exciting to have you guys watch us, follow us, all the good things. Make sure you follow Kenton at TGIF_Kenton. Make sure you follow Locked On Wolfpack Podcast. Say that 3 times fast. You can follow Locked On ACC on Twitter. You can also follow at Candace D. Cooper. Me personally, we read your comments. We respond as we should. Keep it positive. Keep it light. Leave us 5 stars. All the things that we love to see. For Candace Cooper and Kenton Gibbs. Until next.